Okay, so this is the grading, the second video, the grading video where I talk about how exam 2 is going to be graded and why the heck I've got this complicated system set up. I'm going to try to talk a little louder, so if you had me turn down the first video, I apologize, I probably didn't talk loud enough. I'm going to try to talk a little louder in this one, so if you need to turn your volume down, go ahead. Also had to get me a cup of water. You guys know I've always got my water. I don't have my Death Star mug today, though. A little bummed about that. That's at my office. I need to go get that. Just doesn't feel right without it. Anyway, let's talk about taking exam 2 and grading. Alright, so how do we do this? Well, first and foremost, make sure you have 2 hours uninterrupted, however you spell that. 2 uninterrupted hours. Okay, just like you were taking an exam in class, you know, that's a solid 75 minutes uninterrupted. You get to work just on those problems. It's the same thing here. Make sure you've got at least that 75-minute period. I'm giving you a little bit more because it's a weird online format. So take advantage of it, but make sure you've got 2 hours uninterrupted. Make sure you're somewhere you've got good, stable internet. I'm hoping that's at home for you. If that needs to be at school or something like that, let me know and we can arrange that. I think they're making some space in the library available on a very limited basis, but you know, we're trying to flatten the curve, right? We're trying to not expose each other to this thing because we don't know who's got it and who doesn't for 14 days. Anyway, let's not go down that path. There's too much of that. Please make sure you've got 2 hours uninterrupted. Make sure you've got stable internet. Okay? All right. Now, sorry, drinking some water there. What you want to do is you're going to go to the modules area of Canvas, right? And then you're going to work on the timed questions. Now, all of it is timed, but the timed questions, that's where you get 5 minutes, big chunk of points. For 5 minutes, you got to answer some basic questions about the 4 problems. Okay, so you're going to get 5 minutes with one problem, answer some really important fundamental questions about it. Look at the practice exam. It'll give you an idea what those look like. And then after you've done those timed questions, then once you've done all 4 of the timed questions, then it's going to unlock the general questions, or just the questions section. Okay? You'll have 5 minutes each on the timed questions, and then you'll get all 4 of those questions together at the same time in this question section, and it's going to say you've got 90 minutes to write up a solution and then send a PDF of your solutions. Again, do not email me those. My email box is already pretty full. I'm trying to work on that, but let's not make it worse. Send PDFs to Canvas in this section. Don't flirt with that time limit. If you exceed the 90 minutes, that's you're probably going to lose some points for going over it. And even if you have to email me at that point, then expect a pretty significant penalty for doing that. Get it within the 90 minutes. Get your solutions PDF'd and get them in here. Okay. Spend 75 minutes on the solutions. Last 15 minutes, get PDF and get it submitted. Okay. Let's talk about grading. Again, why in the world am I doing this? Well, you know, in a typical
exam problem, which would be 25 points. And these are still going to be 25 points for each question. Let's break it up into kind of three groups. You've got your fundamental laws and expressions. Right? What are you going to use to solve this problem? Probably a first law equation, maybe a boundary work equation, and then maybe you need conservation of mass, ideal gas law. You need something else in there. When I set up my grading scale, I try to do 60% of your points for correctly identifying the fundamental laws and expressions needed, and then actually simplifying them to an appropriate point for this particular problem. So for 25-point question, that ends up being 15 points, 15 of these 25 points for getting these correctly simplified, basically showing me you know how you're going to attack the problem. Right? Now, then from there, you're going to have a bunch of unknowns in here. Right? We got to get down to where we have as many equations as we have unknowns. That's kind of the second area, is where we go look up properties. Right? Properties and other unknowns. Right? Get it down to where we've got only as many unknowns as I have equations. So go look up any table properties, look up specific heats, look up any constants. Typically I try to set it up where that's 20% of the points on a problem. Right? So again, if it's a 25-point problem, 15 points for the fundamental laws and expressions, and then I'm going to put maybe 5 points. So try to get about 5 points on your properties. And then actually getting down to your solution. So that's making sure the units work, doing some algebra, and then getting down to an actual answer, the solution. That together, that category ends up being the last 20% towards your grade. So basically you can get to a D just by showing me you know roughly how to solve this problem. You can work your way to a C or a B, that's passing, right? So a D is passing technically. D is passing but needs improvement. A B or a C is passing. Maybe some minor improvement, but passing. So you can get to a B, you can get to 80%, just showing me you know how to get to a solution, and then actually getting to a solution gets you in a high B to low A range, or all the way to 100%. This is the last 5 points. This is normally how I set up a grading structure for a test problem. And this is normally, these percentages is normally how I try to grade homework problems in general. Show me you know what you're going to use to solve the problem, show me you know how to get to a solution, and then go get to a solution. And that's how I grade accordingly. Okay? Now, in an online format, I don't know who I'm testing. Am I testing you, or am I testing your ability to go look up information on the internet? I really want to test you. Right? Go look in the syllabus, read the syllabus about how I grade exams, the purpose of exams, what not to do for exams. Let me just put this down here at the bottom. You will get 0 points for verbatim Chegg or internet solutions. Right? So I'm sure you guys know, there are services out there that you can give them a question and it'll give you a solution. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong, but if you give me verbatim, if I can find your solution on the internet, you give it to me verbatim from something you found on the internet, I will not grade it. Do your own work. If you use it as a tool, okay. Ideally, I'm not testing you on your ability to look things up on the internet. I'm testing you on your ability to, given a problem, identify the fundamental laws and expressions needed to solve it, and show me you know how to get to a solution. And if you can get to a solution, that's how you get your A. Right? Not interested in how you can look up stuff on the internet.
Also, if you want to try to work with your friends, be very careful. I'm going to intentionally try to give different versions of the exam, and if you're just talking to your friends about somebody else in the class about a particular problem, you guys know me. I will probably set up problems that will be confusing because they'll be just enough different. They'll be just enough the same, but just enough different that if you try to talk to somebody else, you may end up confusing each other. You've been warned, okay? Do your own work. This is an exam. It's not a group project. Again, look in the syllabus and don't do the things I tell you not to do in the syllabus. If two of you or more of you give me verbatim the exact same solutions, even if they're right, guys, just don't do that. Do your own work. You should have your own unique solution. They will not match exactly, period. If two of you give me the exact same solution, well, let's just say I'll deal with it when I get there, but you're probably not going to like the results of that. Do your own work, and you can rest assured you're not going to give me a verbatim solution somebody else does if you're doing your own work, okay? All right, what else we got here? So again, why am I doing this way? Why the timed questions? Well, again, this whole point of I'm not interested in how good are you at looking stuff up on the internet, but I can't sit there and watch to make sure what you're doing. I mean, there are some services I could use that you have to work it out in front of a webcam and stuff like that. I'm not using those here. I may explore those in the future, but I'm not doing them here. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take and split this big category up into two pieces. I'm going to say let's do 30%. Let's split it up in half, and then we'll still do 20%, 20%. Okay? The 30%, the first 30% is going to come from the timed questions. That's the purpose of these guys. These timed questions, you're going to get 5 minutes with the question. I'm going to ask you some very basic questions about what are the fundamental laws and expressions you're going to use. Can you tell me what is the fundamental law or expression you're going to use to solve the problem? What is the correct simplified version of it? And then maybe a question or two about how else are you going to approach the problem. So basically a big chunk of these points is going to be right here. And then the other 70% is going to be in a PDF file submitted to Canvas. Right? So again, that's the reason I'm going to break it out into two parts. You can basically pass the exam. You can get zeros on all the time questions. Just quickly go look at each question, answered, make your best guess, and then move on. And you can still make a C if you get these completely right. But again, I don't know that you didn't just go look these up on the internet or get somebody else to answer them for you. So you've got 5 minutes to try to get a big chunk of these. And if you're studied and you're prepared, you'll be able to do this very quickly. And I've talked about that in class before. Getting this part should not take you long at all if you practice with several problems. Sit down with a problem, write out what are the fundamental laws and expressions needed for it, what is the correct version of the first law to solve this problem. And if you do that, and you do that very quickly, these questions are going to go very easy for you. Okay, that's how you're prepared. And that's the reason I'm going to put part of these points in these timed questions. The rest of them I'll grade here in a PDF you'll send to me. Okay? And that's kind of the basics of how this is going to work. Again, as I said in the last video, and here are my notes from the last video. Have it figured out how you're going to send me this PDF. You've got 90 minutes to generate this PDF. 90 minutes to do that. It takes 75 minutes actually writing your solution out on paper. Leave yourself 15 minutes at least to figure out how you're going to get from paper to PDF, and don't try to do that on the fly in this 15-minute period. Know how to do this, and if you get it down to where you can do this really easily, then you probably can take some of these 15 minutes and put in here and give yourself a little more time. But don't mess around with that. Right? Be to where you Have you an app downloaded